economic integration, trading partners, developmental concepts. We embrace all of that, but it doesn't mean we're ideologically naive. We're not ideologically naive, we're political. And therefore, if we were to trade with the USA or to trade with the UK, we trade from a perspective of knowing that we don't share the same ideologies. When you approach them, you know these ones are brutal. I must not sleep on the job. They are not friends. We are not born alone. We are born with people. That's what friends are for.
My name is Andreas Peska, and I'm the ambassador of Germany. I listened to you very carefully when you spoke about the Marxist and Leninist principles.
So, as Africans and African leaders, we are trying to find a solution that will work best for Africans. You know, there are two models of economy in this world. We have capitalism and then we have socialism. So, as for South Africa, the government right now, they are practicing the capitalist mode of economy. However, we have the opposition leaders or the opposition parties like EFF. EFF is practicing, and they're really practicing. When I say this, I mean it. Socialism, and they want to turn South Africa into a socialist republic. So socialism has its own strengths, and it also has its own weaknesses. Capitalism also has its own strength, and it also has its own weaknesses. And as you know, Julius Malema and South Africa, they're really good friends of Russia. Russia is a socialist republic. As the name suggests, a long time ago, the Russian Union was called the USSR, the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic, you know. So socialism is catching up. It has really helped countries such as China. Socialism is being practiced in North Korea. Socialism is being practiced in Cuba. So socialism in China is where we have socialism where it has done its best. Socialism has really helped China grow to where it is right now. And also on the extreme side, you can see Cuba. Cuba has really grown very poor because of socialism. And I want us to watch a certain video that Julius Malema did. A German chancellor stood up and was talking to him about socialism and the weaknesses of socialism. As we know, Germany is a capitalist republic. It's a capitalist economic country, you know. So I think most of the European powers, they practice a lot of capitalism. But South Africa might be a Soviet republic. Let's wait until May of this month when we will know if the EFF gets to power. That automatically converts South Africa into a socialist republic. However, for now, let's watch this video, then I'll give you my thoughts towards the end of the video.
Some here in the room would know I grew up in a communist country. I grew up in a country called the German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany. So I had first-hand real experience of really existing socialism. And so we had all these Marxist theories. I read a lot of Marxist texts at school. We always had Marx, Engels, you didn't mention Engels, and Lenin in our rooms as the guiding figures. We had nationalized everything. We had nationalized the land. We had nationalized the enterprises. But then after 40 years, we woke up and we realized that it didn't work. So the socialism as we experienced it, the communism as we experienced it in East Germany, it simply did not work. So when the Soviet Union broke up, I think we took the destiny in our hands and joined our brothers in Western Germany in order to build a social market economy. So I'm just sharing this and to let you know. And I'm happy, you know, because I'm an example. Maybe it's interesting to you. to speak to somebody who has this first-hand experience, I'm ready to share this experience in more detail of how real existing socialism looked like, because we made the experience that it didn't work. And maybe it's good also to try to learn. Everybody has to make its own experiences, but maybe it's also good to learn ukufunda kwa maputa, kwa babengina, from other mistakes. So maybe that's something I would like to offer. And a short question on the governance in this country, on forming mixed governments. I think the EFF joined some coalitions in some municipalities. You know, from our outside view, we have a feeling that the mixed governments or coalition governments do not really work so well at the moment. That the interest of furthering the interest of the people, of increasing and improving social services, has not yet been reached. So, what would be your resume of these first years of coalition governments, also with the participation of EFF? Thank you very much. Ke Aliboa.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Hello, Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief. Thank you very much for hosting us for this breakfast and for taking questions. My question is about the day after you become president, once you've become president next year. So you've talked about anti-colonialism and anti-imperialism. I'm the ambassador of Spain, sorry, Raimundo Robredo. The European Union's relationship with Africa and African countries is generally guided, I would say absolutely guided, by the priorities of those countries that are aligned with the African Union and with these countries. As my brother, the High Commissioner of Nigeria, said, one of the things requested is foreign direct investment, which I think you've criticized in some way. Other thing is cooperation in peace and security, for instance, in Cabo Delgado, which I think I've heard that you've also critical of that. It's done at the request of these countries. So my question is, what would you do differently, and what would be your relationship with the European Union once you become president? What would you change? What would you think we should do differently? And what would you put on the table also as a value proposition for the European Union? Because as you said, we all defend our own national interests. That is something that all diplomats do. So what would you propose to the European Union differently from the value proposition of Africa today, South Africa and Africa? And what would you request from us? How would South Africa's policy towards the EU be different? Also regarding trade, for instance, the preferential trade agreements, TDCA, or AGOA with the US, would you change that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 5.
Can I be seated? Can I be seated? Okay, good morning. Thank you so much. I've requested if I can be seated, but anyway, yeah, let me stand. My name is Ashi Said Abakar. I'm from Chad and work with the African Peer Review Mechanism, an AU organ dealing with good governance. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to exchange. President Malema, just know that you are an inspiration to many young people like me. And to be honest, if I watched the South African Parliament session, it's because of EFF. So my question is that, do you have any program or any plan of best practice sharing among the other African countries? As all we know, as I always say that Africa is not poor, but it's poorly managed. Hence, we need like EFF in each and every country in the continent. The second question is going to be this. You know, South Africa is among the top 6 countries that, let me put it, have a veto in the AU. So what are your vision if become the president of South Africa, praying that, or hopefully that's going to be soon, to AU, your vision to AU to be economically free? Because after 6 years of its creation, till now, like we receive more than 6% fund from EU or other Western agency? That's my second question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Number 6.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Nomusa from Kasi Broadcasting Africa. My question is, EFF had a gala dinner and we saw so many black, white, Indians, business people. So do you think our businesses are now warming up for EFF government? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 7 and 8 are this side. Number 7.
Thank you very much. My name is Liisa-Maija Harju. I'm a Deputy Ambassador of Finland to South Africa. I would have a question on Russia's war in Ukraine. You mentioned that EFF would like to see a peaceful solution to the war for the Ukrainian people. How would you go about this war? What, in your view, would be the peaceful solution?
Thank you very much. Last one, number 8.
Thank you very much. My name is Dian Christensen. I'm the Deputy Head of Mission of Norway in Pretoria. And I don't think anyone said it, but I would like to just start by saying congratulations on your 10th anniversary. Well done.
Thank
you. Also,
you.
thank you very much for inviting us to this event, which is actually very important. I mean, being Norwegian, we are almost fanatical about dialogue. We want to have dialogue with everyone, and especially those where we don't agree necessarily, because getting things out in the open is so important, and the only foundation which we can build trust and a good, long-lasting relationship. So thank you. One question and a comment, and I'll try to be brief. The question is about Zimbabwe. You mentioned the sanctions and also how would you go about that, but how exactly do you think that South Africa should engage in Zimbabwe? We have elections coming up. It is very clear to everyone in this room, I think, that the diaspora in South Africa is very significant and also has a very big impact on the economy and the labor market there, around 3 million, as far as I've seen from estimates in the diaspora in South Africa. How would you think that South Africa should engage with Zimbabwe in order to get progress in that country for the benefit of both countries? The comment is about NATO and imperialism. I wanted to mention, because many of us here are NATO members, and Norway is actually a founding member of NATO. We were joining the organization in 1949, a long time ago, and the reason is because we were occupied and attacked in 1940. And all the generations of politicians from that day to this have been saying, never again should that happen to Norway. For us, NATO is a defensive alliance. It remains a defensive alliance, and that's our primary motivation for being in it. This has not prevented us in any way in being anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, and we've been supporting liberation movements in Africa throughout the post-war period, including strong and consistent support for the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. The problem right now is that we see that the imperialist ambitions right now mainly are coming from Russia. And what we see is that the war in Ukraine, the attack on Ukraine, is a part of imperialist ambition of Russia, and also the occupation there you could really easily see it as a colonial experiment. I don't necessarily think that you would agree with this based on what you said, but in the spirit of openness and dialogue, I think it's very important that someone raises this point in this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President.
Economic integration, trading partners, developmental concepts, we embrace all of that, but it doesn't mean we're ideologically naive. We're not ideologically naive, we're political. And therefore, if we were to trade with the USA or to trade with the UK, we trade from a perspective of knowing that we don't share the same ideologies. When you approach them, you know these ones are brutal. I must not sleep on the job. They are not friends. We are not born alone. We are born with people. That's what friends are for. And to have friends that are aligned with you ideologically is nothing wrong. It's not an old-fashioned thing. It's actually apolitical to want to approach politics without ideological orientation. From which ground do you move from? What informs your perspective as a person who is a political animal? It's important always to have our sharing ideological perspective with China. It doesn't mean you can't get a foreign direct investment from Norway or from UK or from Germany. No. You always relate with all countries. Foreign direct investment is more than welcome, but on our terms. Not on Germany's terms. No. We have been giving Germany a lot of money here in South Africa for assembling cars. Not for building cars, for assembling cars. Why is Germany not building those cars here? And create jobs here? In South Africa, we have a problem of unemployment here. Germany will not have a problem. It needs leadership that is decisive, that is going to say, look, we are going to meet you halfway, but you have to meet us halfway. Assembling is not enough. Let's start it here and build it here. So, and Germany's investment under the EFF government is not threatened at all. The same as any other investment. But we are going to renegotiate the deals. And they must be to the interest of Africans. Botswana did it now, where the BS just wanted to change a diamond deal, and all of Botswana said it's not going to happen. You are going to trade here and do diamond here on our terms. Botswana screamed, the BS screamed, kicked, did all manner of things. If this thing is not signed by when we leave, they said you can go. But yeah, we are going to sign the deal on our terms. The BS went back and signed. So that's leadership. Investors want to know what is your position on this matter, so that they can navigate around it and see if they can still make profit out of it. They are not interested in you or in anything. They are interested in politics. That's why they mine blood diamond. They know people are being killed there. This diamond comes from where people are being killed. They still take it. Why do they want to behave like a holy cows and want to punish people for political ideas, yet they don't punish people who are killing each other for diamonds? They go there and still buy blood diamonds. So be clear, then they will come and invest. Even on the land question, we've got special development zones, economic zones here in South Africa, where multinational companies have invested a lot of money on the land they don't own. It's owned by the state. Special industrial zones, special economic zones in South Africa where multinational companies have put billions of rands. They don't own that land. So what is the obsession with the ownership of the land? Why do you say when people own, when you state own the land, the multinational companies want to invest because there is no guarantee? No, you give them the guarantee that from this period to this period, this is yours, these are the benefits, these are the incentives, this is what is going to happen. Please invest here. They will invest. They have done it now under this government. Why do you say when people don't own the land, there won't be investment? There is a huge development that happened right in front of us. You said, one of you said, was here for 9 years. I think it's a Dean of Diplomatic Corps. There's a huge development here in Midrand where there is Mall of Africa. That land, that big development you see there, that land is owned by an Indian family. When you buy property there are no transfer costs. No one owns. They are on a lease of 100 years, those people. Yet they still buy there. Black, white, Indians, everyone buys in a place where they don't own the land. A land is owned by an individual family. There's a huge mall invested there in the land they don't own. People are not looking for those things of ownership of the land. They just want a land tenure guarantee that from this period to this period, this is yours. They calculate, they say we'll make a profit, then that's fine. Let's go. That's how business works. Who said people fall in love with land? There's no one who falls in love with land. No one falls in love with diamond or gold. They fall in love with money. Anything that can give them money, they will go and invest in it. Socialism didn't work in Germany, and you are going to tell us how it failed. But go and also learn from China how socialism works, and it has succeeded in China. It doesn't mean if it has failed in Germany, it will fail everywhere else. We're not Germans, we're South Africans. In China, they've got socialism with Chinese characteristics. What stops South Africans from having socialism with South African characteristics? Learning from Germany, what worked, what did not work. Take the good things, leave the bad things. Why capitalism always resort to Chinese principles, to socialist principles, every time they get into trouble? When the banks failed in 2008 and put the world into a financial crisis, it was socialist principles that took the world out of that crisis through state intervention. Where was capital at that time? If we go now, we're in Pretoria now. Let's go to commercial crimes or go to liquidation or high court and all of that. Every day without fail, there are private companies that are being liquidated there. Who said if it's capitalist owned or private owned, it's inherently successful? Who said that? So it's an ideological debate we can have. We know what happened in Eastern Germany. We know what happened in the Soviet Union. We know what's happening in China. We know what's happening in Cuba. So we can have a deeper discussion about whether this is really a way out. We sometimes get fixated on concepts, but in reality, you do the things that you say you don't want to do. Every time capital gets into problems, the state must intervene. Every time. That's when you now see the importance of socialist principles. Coalitions in South Africa will work. We grew up with people who came from other countries and we never had a problem with them. Because our history dates back to us coming from the north down to the south. Each individual you can ask of their origin here in South Africa is going to take you back there where they say they don't want those people. Never define us as South Africans. There's no way we are xenophobic. The crossing of Africans into Europe and other countries is exactly based on what I said, the mismanagement of our countries. Because we're not poor. We should be providing solutions. We're a typical example of how resourced we are. That's why you see other nations have left their countries to come and colonize us. We never went to colonize anyone. They came looking for our resources. So if people can leave their countries to come and colonize us here, it should be an evidence enough that we are resourced enough, and therefore we should use that resource for the benefit of Africans and not the other way around. There is a reluctance because to create a formidable thing like an African government, because everybody benefits from these little cocoons. You are called a president of Swaziland, prime minister or something. But your country is not bigger than Soweto. What is that? Then it means Soweto must be a country also. So, but because they benefit from that, they don't even want to engage in this discussion. Because it's an individuals who benefit from it. That's why there's no concrete plan to go into it, and there's no a single president that leads this discussion and put it firmly on the agenda of the AU. That the original thought of the AU as OAU, it was to establish, the founding fathers wanted to establish a solid government. And they got defeated in that discussion. But the intention has always been to create a solid government from its inception. That we should come together and be one. And something came out of it, and it never went back to what it was supposed to be, a government, a united government of Africa. And that's what we'll advocate for ourselves as the EFF. Africa Free Trade is a movement in the right direction. But the first thing we need to do, which the AU must firmly resolve, is to do away with the visa.
Now that we've already heard about something concerning socialism and the importance of socialism, the ambassador has been able to say he experienced socialism. 40 years later, they later came to realize that socialism was not working for them. It might have been different for Germany, because Germany was divided into two, West Germany and East Germany. West Germany was capitalistic, and East Germany was what? Was socialist, because it was invaded by the USSR propaganda of Cold War, where they promoted socialism. Now, I want us to look at something about socialism, something that we should understand for us to fully understand what is at stake. Is socialism important for Africans, or is it something that we will later come to regret? So here is something that you should know. Julius Malema is the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, a political party in South Africa that advocates for socialism and radical transformation of the economy and society. Malema and the EFF supports politics such as nationalization of mines and banks, exploration of land without compensation, and free education and health care for all. This sounds like a very nice deal. Malema and the EFF also oppose the ruling African National Congress, which they accuse of corruption, nepotism, and betrayal of the liberation struggle, So, we have two conflicting economic ideas, one which is being proposed by Julius Malema, and we can be able to see that whatever they are proposing are really a great deal. Malema is looking for the good of the majority. With socialism, the citizens really benefit, but not the individual, because properties are state-owned. So there's no privatization. It's the state owns everything, and this is for the benefit of the South Africans. Right now, South Africa is a capitalistic country where most of the things I know, and because I've heard of it, are owned by the white minority. Something which Malema does not really welcome that well, because of the economic inequality. He really does not like that, and he thinks socialism will bring an end to this economic inequality. So let's have a look at socialism and capitalism, because right now ANC is ruling through, is using the capitalistic economic model, So socialism and capitalism are two different economic systems that have different views on the roles of the government, the distribution of wealth, and the incentives for production and innovation, Socialism is based on the idea that the means of production should be owned and controlled by the society as a whole, rather than private individuals or corporation. Socialism aims to reduce inequality and provide basic needs for all citizens, such as education, healthcare, and social security. Socialism also advocates for collective decision-making and planning for the community, rather than relying on the free market and competition. Capitalism, however, is based on the idea that the means of production should be owned and controlled by private organizations, individuals, or corporations who have the right to profit from the investments and activities. Capitalism relies on the free market and competition to determine the prices, wages, and allocation of resources. Capitalism also encourages individuals' freedom, choice, and innovation, as well as economic growth and efficiency. So capitalism is about me, socialism is about the people, and I think South Africa has really passed through a lot. Apartheid is, it's like they went through different phases of colonialism. They just got the independence in 1994. It was not a full independence considering what I hear happened down there. Socialism might help. It might help considering the tenets of socialism. What we really want is, how will the Africans be helped? How will you as an African in South Africa, or you as an African, don't think that the problems in South Africa won't affect you. I don't know if you remember the story about the noisy hornbill. The noisy hornbill brought a lot of problems to the other animals in the forest. The hunter came one day, and because the hornbill was always noisy, all other animals were in trouble because of the noisy hornbill. So South Africa's problem is an African problem. If you think I'm lying, think of the story of the noisy hornbill. So let's look at some of the strengths of socialism over capitalist. So this is like a simulation of how South Africa will be when EFF wins the election, of which, according to what Malema has said, he's really promising a lot of good things to the South African people, to the black majority, to the Indian minority, and to the white minority. He is trying to bring a balance of economy. Economic equality is what Julius Malema is trying to bring. So let's have a look at these, the tenets, the strengths of socialism over capitalism. So socialism promotes social justice and equality by ensuring that everyone has access to basic services and opportunities, regardless of their income, class, or background, you know. Another one is socialism prevents the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few by distributing the benefits of production and resources more fairly among the societies. Power and money should never ever be concentrated on the hands of an individual. This problem has been shown, and we have really seen what the effects can be if power and money is concentrated on the hands of one person. Remember the story of Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger Henry Kissinger went away with the lives of very many people because he had a lot of influence and power in his hands back then. Not even the people in the United States like him for what he did. He killed a lot of people in Africa. He killed a lot of people in Venezuela. He killed a lot of people in Cambodia. And remember, USA was still capitalistic as it is right now. So socialism tries to distribute power in the hands of individuals. Socialism has its own strengths, which are really good. These 2 points are good. So far, these points are really good. Power should not be concentrated in the hands of a few. Socialism promises social justice and equality for everyone. And then the third one will be socialism reduces the negative externalities of capitalism, such as environmental degradation, exploitation of workers, and social unrest by regulating the economy and protecting the common good. So those are the three strengths of socialism that I could find. So let's have a look at the weaknesses of socialism. Remember, we are doing a simulation of how South Africa might be or would be if EFF becomes the leading government or wins the election. So some of the weaknesses of socialism over capitalism are: socialism reduces the incentives for innovation and entrepreneurship by limiting the rewards and recognition for individual achievements and creativity. Yes, this was obvious. It's obvious. If it's going for the community, it will limit the individuals. Yeah. So the second weakness we have: socialism creates inefficiencies and bureaucracy by involving the government in the management and planning of the economy, which may lead to corruption, waste, and misallocation of resources. The third one, which will be socialism restricts the individual freedom and choice by imposing collective goals and values on the society, which may conflict with the preferences and interests of some citizens. If socialism is to work, everybody has to be hardworking. Everybody must put in the same effort. I can't be lazy, expect my neighbor to be working hard for me, and I go and reap what he provided. Everyone has to be busy. Everyone has to be hardworking. You see, this is something that socialism has a weakness on. Somebody might be preying on something else that someone else has worked hard for. Somebody spent a lot of years, a lot of time building something. If you want to enjoy that thing, you should also spend a lot of time, or equally the time that they spent in doing that. In at least this one, there's equality. There's equality in hard work as there is equality in distribution of resources. Equality in production and equality in distribution of resources. So, some of the countries that have adopted and enacted socialist policies and programs to different degrees and have success in providing to their societies by doing so, Norway. Norway is a socialist republic. We have Finland, a socialist republic. We have Denmark, Great Britain, Canada, the Netherlands, Spain, Ireland, Belgium, Switzerland, Australia, Japan, and New Zealand. These countries are often referred to as social democracies, as they combine elements of both socialism and capitalism, such as public ownership of key sectors, progressive taxation, universal healthcare, and a welfare state, as well as a market economy, private property, and free trade. South Africa, on the other hand, is also considered a mixed economy, as it has both socialist and capitalistic features, such as the nationalization of some industries, land redistribution, we have and social security, as well as private sectors, foreign investment, and free market. Julius Malema is the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, a political party in South Africa that advocates for socialism and radical transformation of the economy and society. That's how important socialism should be. By looking at this video, it's good that Julius Malema knows what he's doing. Julius Malema is a very learned person, so he knows what's good for his country. He knows what's good for the black people. He knows what's good for the white minority. He knows what's good for the minority Indians. And that's all for today. I hope you learned something from this video. You're able to learn about the strengths and the weaknesses of capitalism and socialism. You've also been able to learn that some countries have these mixed economic systems. Whichever way South Africa leads, we will support them. But remember, South Africa's problem will also be an Africa's problem. We look up to South Africa. South Africa is our big sister. South Africa is our elder sister. That's how we look at you South Africans. So kindly do subscribe to the channel. Do subscribe, and don't forget to give the video a like. Support me on Patreon, and also give the video super thanks. I know there are so many. Choose one which works for you. Thank you.